Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got lots of news to share with you today. We're going to start off with this story here on your screen as Ukraine attacks Russia's Dyagilevo airbase and Novorossiysk port. Okay, so a major drone swarm fired from Ukraine last night targeting this airbase, also the port of Novorossiysk. We're going to be talking more about this today as the Dyagilevo Air Base up in the Ryazan region, approximately 450 kilometers away from the border in Ukraine. It hosts Ilyushin 76 tanker aircraft. These are transport aircraft, Tu-22 MS bombers, and it also serves as a retraining center for long-range aviation pilots. And they also apparently repair Tu-22M bombers, Tu-95 MS bombers, and various Ilyushin 76 military transport aircraft at this airbase. This is a photo again coming out from that area showing you guys that airbase. So we did come under attack. I do have some videos to show you guys of explosions nearby the base. We don't know for sure yet if the base was directly hit, but it would not be surprising to me if it was attacked, as we do have several videos showing explosions in the area. So we'll show you guys that here in just a little bit. And the Novorossiysk port down near the Krasnodar region, it has come under attack multiple times in the past, and Russia generally stations their naval fleet here. Their missile destroyers are usually in that area, but we did hear about a month or so back that they started to move a lot of them away from there. I think it was over towards Sochi, which is a little bit more further southeast away from Novorossiysk. And that was due to potentially attacks from ATACMS missiles if Ukraine was going to start firing them into Russia, which we have been seeing that, but primarily up in the Bryansk and Kursk region is where we have been seeing these longer range missiles being fired. Okay, so we're going to talk more about this today on these attacks on the Novorossiysk port and the Dyagilevo airbase. Also, 6 regions in total that came under attack by drones earlier this morning: Rostov, Bryansk, Krasnodar, Belgorod, Ryazan, and Astrakhan. Okay, so definitely a major drone attack from Ukraine being reported today. Russia's defense ministry said they shot down a total of 24 drones over these regions. So we'll talk more about that in just a minute. Also, a story coming out from the Baltic Sea. Apparently, there was a German naval helicopter that was conducting reconnaissance in the Baltic Sea, and Russia's Navy was there, and they reportedly fired warning shots using signal flares at this German military helicopter. So that's very big news as well. Right now, there's still investigations ongoing at this time. We're going to talk about that. That could definitely be very big provocation coming from the Russians, and numerous other things that I want to discuss with you guys today. So I want to go ahead and get right into this. We're going to hop into the news here. We're going to start off on Ukrinform. This is a mainstream news outlet. We're going to talk about these attacks on the airbase in Ryazan and also the Novorossiysk port coming under attack. It says here drones attack airbase near Ryazan port in Novorossiysk. Drones targeted an airbase near Ryazan and a port in Novorossiysk, Russia. This is according to the Astra Telegram channel, which cited locals, Ukrinform reports. I'll show you guys this video here from Astra in just a minute on X. It says video of the day. The channel shared a video showing an explosion attributed to the drone attack. Following the incident, Pavel Malkov, governor of the Ryazan region, stated that air defense forces of the Ministry of Defense shot down 3 drones over the Ryazan region, adding that there were no casualties or damage. Russia's Ministry of Defense reported in its morning update that 24 Ukrainian drones were intercepted overnight across 6 regions. These included 6 drones over the Rostov region, 5 each over the Bryansk and Krasnodar, 4 over Belgorod, 3 over Ryazan, and 1 over Astrakhan. The Dyagilevo Air Base, located 500 kilometers from the front line, hosts Ilyushin 76 tanker aircraft, Tu-22 MS bombers, and serves as a retraining center for long-range aviation pilots. Adjacent to the base is a repair facility that services Russian strategic aircraft, including Tu-22M bombers, Tu-95 MS bombers, and various Ilyushin military transport aircraft. And it says here, residents of Novorossiysk and its suburbs also reported explosions near the port where missile carriers are stationed. The city's mayor, Andrei Kravchenko, confirmed that air defense forces were active in response to the attack. Okay, so it looks like they did shoot down some of these drones, but I do have some videos to show you guys also over on X. But real quick, before we do that, let me jump into a map here real quick and show you guys exactly where these locations of the Dyagilevo Airbase and the Novorossiysk port were at when they came under attack. So here's Ukraine right here in the center of the screen. Here's Russian territory, and up near Moscow, we have the Ryazan region just a little bit southeast. And here, if we zoom in to the city of Ryazan, just a little bit northwest is the city of Dyagilevo. And here is the airbase right here, okay? So pretty large-size airbase. We can see lots of aircraft being stationed here. Here's these Tu-22 MS bombers right here. And then we also have Ilyushin 76 aircraft also being stationed. I think these are them right here. So lots of transport aircraft being stationed at this base. And again, also this is a retraining center for Russia's aviation forces, and also a repair facility for a lot of their aircraft also. So it looks like they got some smaller bombers here also. Looks like even some helicopters up in this area too. So pretty large size airfield that came under attack last night. Again, we don't know for sure if it was struck directly, but residents were catching explosions on camera nearby. Some people that lived in these areas here. So I'll show you guys that here in just a little bit. But again, near the city of Ryazan, just a little bit northwest, near the city of Dyagilevo. And this is in the northwest portion of the Ryazan region, approximately 450 kilometers from the border of Ukraine. Now we're going to go down to Novorossiysk, which is in the Krasnodar region. Okay, not too far away from the Kerch Bridge also. So here's the port of Novorossiysk, and we probably reported this port coming under attack, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 times just this year, maybe more. So just to the east side over here is where Russia stations their naval fleet. We can see a lot of them here in the satellite image, showing a lot of the naval fleet here, and their missile destroyers are usually stationed at this port. We can see some of them here. So we don't know for sure also if this port was hit. Right now, this information was just breaking in something like the last 8 hours, 10 hours or so. So usually it takes about 24 to 48 hours before we start seeing actual reports of direct hits at some of these ports, unless some people were able to capture some of the explosions at the port directly, which we have not seen that yet, but maybe that'll come out soon. So here's where the port of Novorossiysk is at. So this is kind of like southwestern Russia down here, deep south, close to the Black Sea, okay? So now let's hop into some news over here on X now. Got lots of stuff to show you guys today. This is from Tendar. Ukrainian drones attacked the Dyagilevo airbase in Ryazan last night. Several Telegram channels reported of explosions coming from the base. The base is more than 450 kilometers or 285 miles from the Ukrainian border. So here's a little map to show you guys. Approximately 458 kilometers from the border of Ukraine is where the Dyagilevo airbase is located at. Okay, also we've got a video here from Nexta. During the night, 35 drones attacked Russian regions. Explosions were reported in Ryazan near Dyagilevo, where a military airbase is located. There was also reports of explosions in Novorossiysk, Taganrog, and Bryansk. Okay, so we got that video here from Astra to show you guys, approximately 16 seconds long. And up here in the top of your screen, you're going to see a bright flash in the beginning and follow up with some explosions. Take a look at this. All right, so up here we can for sure see that flash, and then soon after we hear an explosion, which indicates most likely something being hit. It could have been a drone being shot down as well, as we did hear some of these drones in these areas were shot down. So we do have that video footage to show you there. We also got another video here also from Vicegrad24 breaking. Ukraine has launched a large swarm attack of suicide drones against military targets in Russia. The drones attacked Dyagilevo airbase in Ryazan and the Russian Navy port in Novorossiysk. Drones also struck targets in Taganrog and Bryansk. All right, so now we got another video to show you guys, approximately 5 seconds long. You're going to hear some explosions in the background. Also, it doesn't have very good visual quality, but you will be able to hear some explosions. Just a quick 5-second clip. Take a look. All right, sounds like something took a direct hit in this video here, and we can hear the car alarms going off in the background as well from one of these drones striking a target near the Dyagilevo Airbase. Okay, so most likely we did have some direct hits, and we'll wait for more of that confirmation to come out here in the next 24 hours. Also, for more translated Dmitry, a drone explosion was reported early this morning in Grozny, Chechnya. At approximately 4:50 a.m., the target is believed to have been the barracks of the Kadyrov Special Police Regiment. The accompanying photo reportedly shows the aftermath of the attack. So take a look at this. Supposed to be the barracks of the Kadyrov Special Police Regiment taking a direct hit in Chechnya also. So Kadyrov's forces coming under attack up in Chechnya in Russia, as we have a direct hit on a barracks that is used for their special police regiment. Okay, so there's a picture to show you guys also. So drones even going way deep into Chechnya inside of Russia. Okay, also moving on to another update from Bliskovka. Air Defense Forces of Ukraine destroyed 29 out of 50 Russian UAVs. 18 drones were lost locally, and one left the controlled airspace in the direction of the temporarily occupied territory. Okay, so here's a diagram to show you guys. Approximately 29 out of 50 Russian UAVs have been shot down. So what we have been seeing is Ukraine has been doing a very good job of shooting down a lot of these drones, many of them even being lost due to electronic warfare. So something I do want to note as well is, if you guys notice, each day that we report this, there's really not a lot of missiles being fired, okay? So I think what Russia is doing right now is they're saving up a lot of their missiles. They mainly just send drones into Ukraine to keep Ukraine busy every single day. But with these missiles, we're really not seeing a whole lot of them being fired. And what they do is over the last month or so, we've been seeing Russia firing, 100 of them at a time. Okay, so I think we may be seeing another major missile barrage onto Ukraine very soon, as we have not been seen any being used on a regular basis just over the last week or so since that last attack striking Ukraine's electricity grid. Also from Defense of Ukraine. Whenever you do a thing, act as if the world were watching. All of the world were watching, excuse me. And that was a quote from Thomas Jefferson. The combat losses of the enemy from February 24th, 2022 to December 4th, 2024. So here's another diagram to show you guys the losses over the last 24 hours from Russia, and then the all-time stats as well. So it looks like still maintaining that 1,500 or more losses from the Russian side. This time, 1,670 from the Russians, reportedly being lost, according to Ukrainian intelligence. 7 tanks, 31 armored fighting vehicles, artillery systems 26, 1 air defense system, 29 UAVs. Looks like vehicles and fuel tanks 80, special equipment 1. Okay, so more losses from the Russians being reported, and definitely is turning into a meat grinder for Russia, as every single day for like the last month and a half, we've been reporting roughly about 1,500 or more Russian soldiers being killed in battle. Okay, so very crazy the amounts of losses that Russia's taking. So now I want to move on to talk a little bit about this story regarding this German military helicopter that was fired upon by a flare from Russia's Navy in the Baltic Sea. This says here from The Informant, initial reports indicate a confrontation between Russian and German naval forces in the Baltic Sea. A Russian warship reportedly fired warning shots using signal flares at a German military helicopter conducting reconnaissance in the Baltic Sea. While Germany's defense ministry has not confirmed the incident, Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock mentioned it during a NATO meeting in Brussels, highlighting increasing Russian hybrid threats in the region. She also announced plans to intensify monitoring and protection of critical infrastructure such as pipelines and data cables, which have been targets of recent sabotage. So we've been talking a lot about those lately. Obviously, pipelines have been exploding in the past over the last couple of years. Then when it comes to these data cables, we had 2 of them that were cut potentially by a Chinese boat carrier by the name of Yipeng just in the last couple of weeks. We had that happening in the Baltic Sea. And then also yesterday I reported to you guys up in Finland, there was a data cable that was cut running from Finland over to Sweden, but the authorities apparently ruled that out as an accident due to construction. So don't know for 100% sure if that was really sabotage, but that's what they were claiming. But we have been seeing lots of potential sabotage that is supposedly being pinned on Russia inside of the Baltic nations primarily. We've seen a lot of that also in Europe, just in general. So it says here this confrontation follows Vladimir Putin's provocative display of military power in the Mediterranean, where Russian warships launched hypersonic missiles as a warning to the West. The incident underscores growing tensions between NATO and Russia, as the Kremlin continues to bypass sanctions and allegedly engage in hybrid warfare, including cyber attacks and infrastructure sabotage. Okay, so this could definitely be a big story. We'll see what happens. In my opinion, most likely this thing will get blown over and NATO will kind of pretend like it didn't happen. At least that's what I think will happen. But I will be doing another video later today talking more about this in depth to let you guys know what's going on with this, because there has been some updates that I've seen over the last hour or so. So I definitely want to cover that today for you guys, but we'll talk about that more in a video later today. All right, also from War Translator Dmitry, the Palinitsia missile project has entered mass production, according to Rustem Umerov, who is the defense minister of Ukraine. According to the defense minister, mass production of R-360 cruise missiles of the Neptune complex has also been resumed and scaled up. The modified missiles are now capable of hitting targets at a longer range. All right, so this is very, very big news, guys, okay? So the Palinitsia going into mass production, that means they were able to secure funding for this, as Ukraine was complaining about this probably about a month or two ago, stating that they did not have enough funding to mass produce these Palinitsia drones. So it looks like they do have the funding now. We have been seeing a lot of aid packages going to Ukraine recently. So they do have the money to start funding these and producing mass amounts of these Palinitsia drones. And then also the R-360 cruise missile or of the Neptune complex, okay? So Neptune missiles, we know also are in mass production as well, or they're starting to scale up production for those. So coming into this next year, I wouldn't be surprised by January, we're going to see major strikes inside of Russia, and maybe Ukraine right now is saving up a lot of these Neptune missiles and Palinitsia drones for a major strike onto Russia. I think that could be the case, as we know with Ukraine's victory plan that Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, had unveiled. He said a large percentage of this victory plan, or an important part of it, is to make sure that they're able to put Russia into a position where they feel like they're losing, okay? He's come out and said that before, and using these types of missiles and drones, along with the missiles that are being given by the United States and also Britain, they could potentially be launching large-scale strikes inside of Russia very soon, so be prepared and ready for that. There's a picture of the Neptune missile also. Okay, so moving on to more updates from Anton Gerashenko, Putin's niece accidentally revealed the approximate number of missing Russian soldiers. Russian authorities have received 48,000 applications for DNA tests to find missing Russian soldiers. This was announced in Russia's Duma by Russian Deputy Defense Minister Anna Sibilovya, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Putin's niece, Kartapolov, head of the Duma's Defense Committee, said this was secret information, asked that these figures must not be voiced anywhere else, and that the information be removed from the documents. These numbers are likely on the lower end of the scale of Russian casualties. There is reasonable probability that the actual numbers are much higher. So apparently 48,000 applications have been received for appeals to find out where maybe loved family members have gone. Looks like there are a lot of missing in action Russian troops that are being reported inside of this war, inside of Ukraine. So, so essentially she's going to be saying that 48,000 applications were received for DNA tests to find these Russian soldiers that are missing. So imagine the people that maybe don't care about their family members to go and, get the DNA test done. This number could be much higher of actual missing troops from the Russian side. So take a look at this.
Родственники ДНК, я уже сказала, мы все берем, они сдают бесплатно, у них принимает это МВД абсолютно бесплатно, за свой счет делает и также в свою базу вносит всех родственников, которые к нам обратились. Я уже сказал, 48 тысяч, это тоже ведется.
Единственный один момент, коллеги, вот здесь вот она где цифры называла, в том числе вот без вести от случаев, я бдительно прошу, этими цифрами нигде не фигурирует. Это такая закрытая информация, достаточно чувствительная. И вот когда будем документы составлять, итоги тоже там, чтобы эти цифры нигде не плавали.
Александр Ильич, это просьба. Мы в любом случае посмотрим, еще и комитет по обороне тоже посмотрим. Здесь вопрос такой очень чувствительный, надо все острые углы нам обойти.
Еще минуточку я скажу. Я назвала цифры не пропавших, а обращений к нам. Понятно. Многих они найдут. Поэтому это цифры именно обращений, а не статистика. Родственники ДНК.
Okay, isn't that crazy, guys? 48,000 appeals being received by Russian authorities from families of loved ones that are fighting in this war. So it's just absolutely insane, guys. Isn't it crazy, too, that they were saying that, hey, we need to make sure that this information is not readily available to the public. We should be removing this information, that's sensitive numbers. So imagine, these numbers could be much higher, maybe even 100,000 or more. And Ukraine is claiming that over 700,000 Russian troops have been killed. So, this makes sense. I mean, just 48,000 alone missing in action, could be much higher. And all for that, for a special military operation and not even being considered an actual war, these numbers could be absolutely staggering. It looks like they could be trying to hide the actual real results of these numbers, okay? So moving on to another update from Jay in Kiev, with Russian men now vanishing into the fertile black soil of Ukraine and up to 2,000 a day, Putin's insatiable corpse grinder seeks to add yet more efficiency. For Russians, those idle years from birth to 16 can now be allocated to doing all those Russian things like pouring the iron that'll soon be raining on the good people of NATO countries. So take a look at this report that was coming out here. Looks like from a Russian news agency. It says the Ministry of Industry and Trade proposed allowing 16-year-olds to work in heavy industries. The Russian Ministry of Industry and Trade has proposed changing the rules for working in heavy industries or with hazardous working conditions. The agency believes it is possible to allow access to them for people over 16 years of age. The document was prepared in response to questions from the State Duma deputies and is at the disposal of TASS news agency. Okay, so this is very big news. Russia's Ministry of Industry and Trade, they're proposing to change the rules for heavy industries, okay, or hazardous working conditions to allow children at the age of 16 to work inside of these factories. This is also indicative that Russia is definitely low on supply of people to work at some of these factories. We've been hearing that they are short-staffed at a lot of their factories to produce anything, even if it's something to do with the war in Ukraine. And imagine, too, that a lot of these people that used to work at these facilities are now on the front line over dying in Ukraine, fighting in the Russian military. So definitely another big sign showing that Russia is short-staffed and they're having issues supporting even their factories, okay? So very big news coming out today. Also from Max 24, Kiev's request to supply Ukraine with a significant number of air defense systems to protect nuclear and other critical infrastructure was positively received by NATO partners, according to Mark Rutte, who is the Secretary General of NATO. Okay, so we did hear, I think it was yesterday, Andriy Sybiha, he was calling at the Minister of Foreign Ministers meeting, at NATO, the NATO Council in Brussels. He was calling for, I think, something like 20 air defense systems for Ukraine, that they were needing them urgently. And it looks like Mark Rutte hears that call, and they're going to be receiving some of these air defense systems soon. And I think they were trying to get them by the end of the year, supposedly before the end of this month, actually. So we could be hearing a significant amount of air defense systems going over to Ukraine very soon from NATO countries. So that was some big news today. Also from the Ukrainian Review, up to 100 suspicious incidents in Europe this year can be attributed to Russia, Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipovsky said, according to Reuters. We need to send a strong signal to Moscow that this won't be tolerated, Lipovsky said. Okay, so this is big news too. We've been talking about these so-called Russian hybrid attacks, sabotage events, just like the cables being cut in the Baltic Sea recently. We also reported a DHL cargo plane that caught fire and crashed inside of Lithuania recently, and potentially some of these could be attributed to Russia. We don't know 100% yet whether that's true, but he's claiming that there's been up to 100 suspicious incidents in terms of sabotage or maybe some sort of event relating back to Russia. Isn't that crazy that NATO has allowed this many events already and they have not responded at all? Just think about the drones that have been flying into Romania recently, the one that crash landed in, I think it was in Latvia a few months back, and also Poland has been coming under attack by Russian drones that entered their airspace, even missiles at times too. So NATO has for sure been sitting back on their hands and doing nothing in regards to all these potential hybrid attacks from Russia or whatever they want to call them, sabotage events, anything like that. Looks like NATO's not doing anything about that, but we do have the Czech foreign minister that's calling for NATO to respond to all these potential attacks, okay? So that's big news. Also from Nexta, Germany may deploy its peacekeeping forces to Ukraine to monitor the enforcement of a ceasefire, says Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock. Such a step, she believes, could be considered alongside security guarantees in the form of NATO membership. Earlier, AFP and DW, citing sources, reported that European countries are indeed discussing the deployment of peacekeeping forces to Ukraine to monitor compliance with a potential ceasefire. Le Monde wrote that France and the United Kingdom are considering such an idea. However, according to Le Monde, several countries, including the United States, Germany, Hungary, Slovakia, Belgium, Slovenia, and Spain, oppose inviting Ukraine to join NATO. Only France and the United Kingdom support the idea. President Biden has refused to make such a decision before the end of his term. While Trump has never supported the idea, Zelensky views NATO membership as a guarantee to deter further aggression from Russia. Okay, so this is interesting. Now we're hearing that Germany may deploy peacekeeping forces to Ukraine also in the enforcement of a ceasefire. We heard that the UK and potentially France may get involved. Now we're hearing that Germany as well. Okay, so looks like we could potentially be seeing a ceasefire as soon as early next year. And if that is the case, looks like a few European countries are willing to send their troops over there as peacekeeping forces in eastern Ukraine. Okay, also from Noel Reports, some good news from the Kursk region. I got confirmed the 225th Assault Battalion made progress around Darino. It is too early to exactly draw how the map looks like, and the attack is very local and uncertain, but it seems they managed to push out Russian forces from important positions. Okay, so it looks like, according to this little map here, this is on the western side of the Kursk offensive right now, and it looks like they may have made some gains pushing into the town of Darino on the western side of the offensive inside the Kursk region. We have been hearing that Russia has been pushing Ukraine back little by little. I think they've lost almost approximately 40% of the territory that they originally gained when they launched this offensive. I think it was back in August. But this was a quick update coming out from the Kursk region. Looks like they may have made some small gains at a town on the western side of the Kursk offensive in the town of Darino. Okay, also moving on to another update. The Ukrainian Review. The Ukrainians provided files for 3D printing important components such as bomb carriers, tail units, and warheads to Syrian opposition. This allowed the rebels to independently manufacture, assemble, and adapt drones to its needs, according to Clash Report. Okay, so this is interesting. We've been kind of hearing that, maybe Ukraine had their hands in what's going on inside of Syria right now with the Syrian rebels pushing forward and taking multiple big cities like Aleppo up in northwest Syria, trying to fight back against Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian army, and also the backing of Iran and Russia. And this report just coming out from the Clash Report states that Ukraine reportedly provided files for 3D printing for important components. Okay, so again, bomb carriers, tail units, warheads to Syrian opposition. So does Ukraine have their hand in the bag here when it comes to Syria and the rebels that are currently pressing forward in northwestern Syria right now? I think it could be very possible. We have been talking about that. I showed you guys a meme the other day that was discussing that, basically saying that Ukraine was going to be launching a new offensive, because we did hear that from Oleksandr Syrsky, and we thought it was going to be somewhere in like Ukraine or maybe up in the Bryansk region of Russia. We haven't seen that yet. And then all of a sudden this major offensive from the Syrian rebels pushing forward inside of Syria. So look at this as well. This is from NDTV World. Openly flaunting, Russia accuses Ukraine of aiding rebel group in Syria. Okay, this came out yesterday, actually. Rebels fighting with Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, have not only not concealed the fact that they are supported by Ukraine, but they are openly flaunting this, Vasily Nebenzia told the Security Council. So he was speaking to the UN Security Council yesterday and basically accusing Ukraine of being involved and supporting the Syrian rebels, especially the Islamist group here, HTS, which is one of the groups, I believe they are backed by Turkey. And they're up in northwest Syria right now. They just took over a portion of Aleppo also, which is a major city in Syria. So apparently we have Russia accusing Ukraine of being involved in what's happening in Syria. So that's some big developments that just came out yesterday. Okay, also from next, the mayor of the Ukrainian town of Dnipro Rudny, Zaporizhzhia region, has died in Russian captivity. Yevgeny Matveev had been in captivity for 2 years and 8 months. During the last exchange, his body was handed over to Ukraine. Okay, this is very sad news right here. Imagine being a governor, a politician inside of Ukraine. You get kidnapped in the Zaporizhzhia region once Russia starts to take control of that area. He was held in captivity for 2 years and 8 months, guys. That's a very long time. And looks like he unfortunately lost his life in captivity, or maybe was he murdered? I think that could have been a possibility as well. But that was some sad information coming out today, and it looks like he was never able to make it back home. So that was a photo of him. All right, also from Alexander Kocherov, in Kherson region, South Ukraine, Russian occupation forces on the left, south bank of the Dnieper River, have reportedly assembled 300 boats to cross the river in an attempt to recapture Kherson, from which they were pushed out in November 2022. Okay, so I've been reporting this to you guys, this story, over the past couple weeks, that Russia's preparing an offensive in the south. We've been hearing a lot about the Zaporizhzhia region. Just to the west of that is the Kherson region. Okay, and Ukraine is on the northern bank of the Dnieper River, and Russia's on the southern bank. So apparently, some of the Ukrainians have noticed some boats being gathered there, 300 boats that Russia could be using to launch an offensive across the river and try to cross and push and take over more territory in the Kherson region. And we heard also that as soon as tomorrow, by December 5th, they could be potentially launching this offensive very soon. So we're hearing more information and indication that this offensive is coming soon in the south. Okay, also from Anton Yuryshchenko, while Putin claims that the efforts of Western countries to force a strategic defeat on Russia's economy have failed, the head of the Russian central bank says that it will take almost 2 years to curb inflation. So this video is going to show Vladimir Putin essentially saying that all the efforts to try to strategically defeat Russia and destroy their economy has failed. And then we're going to have a clip at the very end of this from Russia's central bank, or the head of Russian central bank is going to be stating that it's going to take 2 years for them to curb inflation. So take a look at this.
Мы часто слышим и в политической сфере, и в военной, и в экономической, что этими странами была поставлена задача нанести России стратегическое поражение, в том числе и на экономическом и технологическом направлении. Кардинально ослабить промышленность, финансы, сферу услуг нашей страны, создать на нашем рынке непреодолимый дефицит товаров, дестабилизировать рынок труда, снизить уровень жизни наших граждан. Очевидно, что эти планы потерпели крах, поражение.
Meanwhile,
Тормозной путь до нашей цели займет весь следующий год и даже прихватит 26-й год.
Мы часто слышим и
Okay, so in case you missed the ending of that, we're going to go over here real quick and I'll pause. It says here, the breaking path to our target for inflation in Russia will take all of next year and even a bit of 2026. Okay, so at least another year, year and a half, if not longer, maybe 2 years, it's going to take for Russia to get inflation under control. And that's completely the opposite of what Vladimir Putin was clearly stating there, him stating that that all the efforts to try to, strategically defeat Russia, destroy their economy, and, all these sanctions that have been placed on Russia, that it basically did nothing. Well, the head of the Russian central bank is saying the opposite, that the inflation is going to take at least up to 2 years, maybe longer, to curb the inflation. Okay, so that's some big news, crazy coming out from Russia. Anybody living there is going to be struggling for quite a while. Okay, also from Nexta, Ukraine must make a difficult decision on further mobilization, says U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Despite all the money and equipment soldiers are needed on the battlefield, we will aim to train these soldiers and provide them with the necessary equipment, Blinken stated. Earlier, Reuters reported that the U.S. had urged Ukraine to lower the draft age from 25 to 18. So this was a statement coming out from Antony Blinken just over the last 24 hours, and him stating that, basically Ukraine needs to push for lowering their mobilization to 18 from 25. That way they can draft more younger people into the military and fill their ranks, as the U.S. believes that Ukraine needs more troops, especially in eastern Ukraine, as we've been seeing that the Russians are continuing to press forward. Obviously, it makes more sense if you have more bodies, then yes, that's a good thing. But Ukraine is coming out as well and stating over the last few days that they don't necessarily need more troops, that they need more weapons. Okay, so what's really going on here? Are they short on troops, or do they really just need weapons? I think the weapons thing would make sense, as we have seen the West slowly trickle aid into Ukraine over the past few years, that it is very possible that maybe they just don't have enough weapons to fight, but that's what Zelensky was saying. Okay, also one last thing to talk about here from Bliskovka. Under Trump's peace plan, Ukraine has offered to give up territory seized by Russia and the issue of joining NATO, according to Reuters. According to Reuters analysis, the proposals of advisors Kellogg, Grinnell, and Vice President Vance have a common element: the exclusion of the issue of Ukraine's membership in NATO. Trump's advisors plan to put pressure on Moscow and Kiev using carrot and stick methods. This could include stopping military aid to Ukraine if it does not agree to negotiations, or increasing it if Russia refuses. Okay, so we've been hearing more and more information about what potentially this peace plan is going to be from Donald Trump when he gets into office in January. Looks like a large percentage of this is still going to be regarding Ukraine giving up the territories that they've currently lost and also not joining NATO. Okay, so we continue to hear that. Looks like Reuters was reporting this today, that this is going to be a large percentage of the Trump peace plan that will be coming in January, most likely. So it doesn't look like it's going to be favoring Ukraine at all, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be upset by this, as it could potentially be benefiting Russia more than Ukraine. And assuming or understanding that that Russia launched this offensive into Ukraine, it would make sense that they should get the worst outcome of this and be punished. But in some ways, it's looking as if Russia is going to be rewarded by this. So we'll see what will happen when this time comes. Obviously, this plan could completely change or do a 180 at any moment. We know that Ukraine is also pushing really hard to get inside of NATO right now. We'll see if they can get in before Biden leaves office. There may be an invitation that could come, but I think it's highly unlikely due to a lot of NATO countries right now that oppose Ukraine joining NATO at the moment. So definitely Ukraine is on a very difficult path right now moving forward, and we'll see what happens when this Trump peace plan comes up here in the next month or so. So it's going to get very interesting what happens over here. But I just wanted to cover some of the updates coming out from today with this war, and today's date being December 4th, 2024. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. If you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. With that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.